Cerberus ASMR, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Gen 2 Pokemon Trainer's Guide, which covers gold and silver. This is the 100% unofficial guide, which means you're going to get some incredible unofficial artwork included. We're also going to take a quick peek at the Hey You Pikachu guide at the end. So let's get right into it. So, right at the beginning, you can see the entirety of the map. And I don't know about you, but when I was playing this for the first time, I had no idea that after beating the new storyline, you would unlock the ability to go back to Kanto and play through that section. That blew my mind back in the day, and I did think that that was something they were going to continue forever. So basically, I thought every new Pokemon game would include all of the previous regions. Obviously, that didn't happen, but I thought that would have been so cool that every time there's a new Pokemon game, it just builds on a different region and you can still go back and play all of the old areas. I know that would probably be way too much content to have in a game, but that's what I thought. I was so excited about that possibility. But this being able to travel back and essentially replay, I know it's a condensed version, but being able to go back and replay the gyms from the first game, that was so freaking cool. So, alright, let's keep going here. So, when I was first playing this, I picked Pokemon Silver because I thought Lugia looked so cool. And my original Gen 2 starter was Cyndaquil. So Bulbasaur, Gen 1, Gen 2, Cyndaquil all the way. So freaking cool looking. And he starts out so cute. That little face and his closed eye. I just love that. And so right away we have some of that fascinating unofficial artwork that I was talking about. And look at Scissor right here. That is so freaking cool. so many new features that were introduced in Gen 2, like the time of the day, being able to see the nighttime and the different Pokemon that were available. Over in Violet City, you fight the first gym, which is Faulkner and his flying Pokemon. The gym kind of looks like a $sign to me. And he gives you Mud Slap. After beating him, I remember the first time I ran into the unknowns, and it was such a mysterious, odd thing that you were having the same Pokemon, but all the different letters of the alphabet that you would run into. Such a unique Pokemon idea. Lapras right here, looking awesome. And then the Azalea Town gym is where you fight Bugsy and his bug Pokemon. Not too bad. The Scyther is where you could get in trouble with his Fury Cutter move. So if you had Cyndaquil as your starter, this was no problem at all. And in Goldenrod City is where you battle Whitney and her normal type Pokemon. You may not have realized that the gym is in the shape of a Clefairy, because when you're playing you're zoomed in a lot further, so you may not have noticed the design that was being made. Pretty cool. Also, some new mechanics is in battle. You had like Sunny Day, which would make Solar Beam a one-turn move. So super cool. The National Park looks like a Pokeball. fake tree, which was Sudowoodo. The next gym leader was Morty and his ghost Pokemon. The floor, it just looks totally black, so if you just try to go straight, you will fall down and have to start over. So there is the path that you need to take to stay on the floor. Jasmine with her Steel Pokemon, and that was a new type starting in Gen 2. Very awesome defensive type. And you had an instance where some Gen 1 Pokemon like Magnemite gained a second typing, which was really cool. It did make them extremely weak to ground Pokemon, though. The Whirl Island is where you find Lugia. Right there in section B4. And then the next gym leader is Chuck and his fighting Pokemon. Gotta be on the lookout for Dynamic Punch there. And then you had Price with his water and ice Pokemon. This floor is slippery, so whatever direction you start on, you will go until you get into a kind of like that, so you have to figure out how to get to him. Very fun to slide around in the gym. And then we have the Lake of Rage, where it was, I think, a lot of people's, and definitely my, first experience running into a shiny Pokemon. That was just such a cool thing when you were seeing it for the first time. You definitely want to try to capture that Gyarados. And then in Blackthorn City, you fight Claire and her dragon Pokemon. Dragonair, always one of my favorites. And then we've already seen a couple of them, but it was really cool that there were Pokemon from Gen 1 that also got new evolutions like Scizor and Kingdra, evolving from Seadra. Very cool. And now that we have all of the gym badges, we're going to be moving on to Victory Road. Haunter right here looking awesome. Alright, this is one of my favorite pictures. In this magazine. Look at Charizard right here. That is so cool. A very awesome iteration of Charizard here. Oh, these flames. Moving on to the Elite Four, you will see that Koga has gotten promoted from Gym Leader. And then here is where that big twist comes in, where you're finishing the Elite Four, and then you get to go back to Kanto. And so they're on the SS Aqua. And just like that, you're back in Vermilion City, facing off against Lieutenant Surge. But of course now his Pokemon are in the 40s. I know one of the biggest kind of gripes or misses that this Pokemon game has is that these Pokemon gyms on the second half are probably too easy. So Lance's highest Pokemon is 50. But now you're dropping all the way down to 40 again. So I think if they would have increased these levels a bit to make it a little bit more of a challenge, I think this second part of of the game would have been so much better. To really challenge your team that you have built so far. Over to Sabrina and her Alakazam at 48. Misty has a level 47 Starmie. That's a strange guy. And look at this incredible Oddish. Oh, who you fighting? Who you fighting, Oddish? Oddish is ready for battle right here. Incredible. Also incredible. And then Erica, still all sub 50 on the levels of her Pokemon. Charmander looking cool. And then like Janine, like what the heck? Look at these levels. They're just way too low. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not really sure what the thought process was to make these so low. Brock's Onyx is level 45. It was pretty cool though that he had Amistar and Kabutops. Very cool to see like the expanded teams that the gym leaders had. They just should have been a higher level. And then your rival only up to 45. Very interesting that Blaine lost Cinnabar Island because of an eruption. That's pretty cool. That, I mean, I guess it was a lazy way to just have him be just in a cave, but it's interesting to think that the world was still changing and evolving between the two games. Rapidash finally to level 50, and then Blue. For a lot of people, this is like the first decent challenge in the whole Kanto region, and even still, it's really not that bad. The gym always looks like it's built with Legos to me. And then the wildest thing is it's time to buckle up because you get to fight Red. So mysterious and incredible. And it's a huge jump in level and difficulty from anything else. One of the most interesting Pokemon trainer battles, I think, out of any of the games is right here. He starts off with his Pikachu at level 81. I've noticed this a couple times. I don't know why. Like, what's going on right there? Because it should be Espeon. I wonder if that was like a early version translation or something. Because, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that is, but it should be Espeon. And that's it. So once you beat Red, you have completed the entirety of Gold and Silver. It's always interesting to see when people do their own little challenges, when they try to solo the game with just one Pokemon. This is always, they're gliding through the second half of the game, and this is like a brick wall. A very good, well-rounded team. Alright. There's a few other interesting sections, so we'll just go through that. The first is a guide on Hey You Pikachu. Which is a game that I desperately wanted, but when I got it as a kid, I was very disappointed because it just doesn't really work that well. It came with a new peripheral where you would talk into the microphone, and it does say that it's recommended for kids 12 and under, but that's probably a little generous already. It sounds like it works better with even younger voices. So if you look at this kid, that kid looks like 7 or 8 to me. I think that's probably the age where it would work a little bit better. The VRU, the voice recognition unit, not that great. So this is not a super long game, but I never finished it. I was so frustrated with how it worked. I think it would be something that would be very cool to come out with modern technology and just clean it up a little bit and maybe throw it on the eShop or something. Like have a Pikachu work the way it was intended. I think that would be really cool. Giving it a second chance Because as it stands, it's just a rough game to get through. Whatever you do, don't call him an electric rat. This picture is hilarious. Yeah, this is already further than I ever got. I don't think I made it past the first maybe couple missions. I mean, this is already it. The guide is only 10 pages. But it's already time to say goodbye. Probably would be sad if it wasn't such a frustrating game to play. The Gym Heroes expansion set. I talked about this a little bit in my Pokemon card collection video, but I loved the idea of the gym leaders having their own card sets. That was so cool to me. Alright. I'm just going to lightly tap on my favorites, I think. It's pretty cool right here. there is the PokéDex that covers the first 2 generations, and this is the original official artwork. Always will be my favorite rendition of these characters. Very special place in my heart for these. That Gengar, so awesome. And now it's interesting because the sprites that they have here under the artwork. Interesting that is all the Gen 1 sprite work. So you still had this, like the goofy Golbat. I love it, but that's definitely the Gen 1 artwork. Interesting that they didn't bother updating it for the new sprites, but I love the Gen 1, like Haunter and Gengar sprites. The same thing with the Gyarados. I love that Gen 1 sprite. And then the Dragonite and the Mewtwo. It's very interesting because I feel like that Gen 1 Dragonite sprite is like the angriest that Dragonite has ever looked, and I loved it. Yes, Cynical all the way. And the first time you get Flame Wheel, it's so exciting. Yeah, it was Cyndaquil, and then on my later second playthrough, it was Totodile. Sorry, Chikorita. I still love you, but I think for me it's 1, 2, 3. And there's Sudowoodo. I think earlier in the guide it just said Pseudowood. I was like, I don't think that's right. Yep, it's definitely Sudowoodo. And see, they have it correct here. It says Espeon. That's fascinating. Espeon was the evolution that I went with in my first playthrough. They're both so good though. I think Umbreon was just hampered a little bit because there just weren't that many good dark moves yet. Houndoom, one of my favorite new additions. also, I know I had Tyranitar on my original team. I never had the original cartridge for Crystal, so I'm happy that they did release it for the 3DS a while back. Crystal is such an amazing game with all of the little improvements in the battle, like sprite animations that they put in when you send out a Pokemon was so freaking cool. So that's the end of the magazine. But we did have a little bit at the beginning that I skipped, so we could get right into the guide. Pokemon Pocket Pikachu. This basically was like a little digital pocket pet, and every time you took a step, it would count up. Pretty neat. I never had the Pokemon Pikachu 2 unit, but it was kind of nifty at the time. Space World 2000. Okay, yeah, you know I wanted this thing. I never got it, but the idea of being able to like put Pokemon down and, you know, have them do stuff or say things, that was so cool. I just obviously I think everybody, they just wanted Pokemon to be real so badly. And looking through this, you know, I thought those were the coolest cars ever. I wonder where they are right now, if they're like in like a museum or something, or if they're in somebody's personal collection. Pokemon, everything. Vitamins, flashlight, live show. Pokemon, Hey You Pikachu, comics. The Pokemon movie 2000. This is such a dope looking card right here. This ancient Mew card. And then we're back where we started. I remember so vividly the day that Pokemon Gold and Silver came out, or when it was available, and I was in school and my mom was gonna go during the day to go get it. That was the longest day of school I can ever remember. It was just every second felt like an hour. The excitement to go and start playing the next Pokemon game was so strong. It's like if I thought hard enough, I could just suddenly be back in that classroom waiting for Pokemon Silver to come out. Like, that's how crazy it was. Yeah, I don't think ever since I've ever anticipated playing a game more than Gold and Silver. Probably my favorite generation of Pokemon ever. I really want them to re-release Heart Gold Soul Silver because I never got a hold of that game and it's so expensive. So it should only be a matter of time, but I think Nintendo will do it eventually. So I hope you enjoyed this Gold and Silver guide flip through. And a little walk down memory lane. So until the next one, happy gaming.